Joshua 1:9. This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will go with you wherever you go. This verse has been echoing in my mind this morning. I'm sure you noticed that there was no post last week. For the past over a week now, what's been going on in Ukraine is really, as it has, I know, millions of other people, affected each and every one of us. I'm sorry if my words are jumbled. I'm speaking from the heart as God has instructed me to do. I found myself last week with no words. Nothing from God that said, this is what I want you to preach about. Instead, I felt the need to be on my knees in prayer towards Him over this and fasting. And I could give you the statistics of, specifically with Church of God of Prophecy, how many churches and missions and people we have over there. But this is bigger than Church of God of Prophecy. This is an entire country. And you would think, and many of us have thought, that we are in such an evolved society that things like this should be a thing of the past. Haven't we learned from our past mistakes? Don't we all just want peace? Unfortunately, we live in a world where, yes, no matter what happens, God is still God. But in the same respect, people are still people. And while we are not stronger than God, God gave us free will. And if we are a people that is deprived of God, or in a backslidden state, or making bad choices, bad things will happen, and innocent people will suffer. Some people might have saw that on my personal Facebook page that I shared about a rabbi in Odessa, Ukraine, who broke his Shabbat in order to get over 200 children, orphans, to safety out of the country. And it reminded me of the Bible and the time where Jesus broke the Sabbath and the Pharisees were all over him about that. But Jesus came to break the old rule of law. Jesus came to say, yes, once you did need all of these rituals and things like that, but there is freedom in this new covenant. And sometimes we abuse that freedom. And sometimes in the abuse of that freedom, where we think, we're on a high, a spiritual high where nothing can hurt us, nothing can drag us down. Oh, but we go for the grace of God, and then something happens, whether it's in our personal lives, in the lives of someone we love, or represented in a war in a country that's not our own, and it shakes our faith. And then we look around and wonder where God is. And that verse, which Joshua 1:9 is one of my favorite Bible verses that I cling to, and I'm not surprised God brought it to my mind, because whenever I feel that my faith is shaken, God brings that verse back to my mind, because He says, do not be afraid and not to be discouraged, for the Lord your God will go with you wherever you go. He doesn't say that wherever we go, roses are going to bloom, peace will reign supreme, you'll have exactly enough money for every time period, your stomach will always be full, there will be no betrayal. That's heaven, not earth. He says, do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Whether that is in a place where there's chaos, whether that's where you're sitting with your coffee or tea, watching the morning news and the insanity that's going on. I mean, we're still not even out of the pandemic. Personal lives have not stopped, even though the globe has constantly stopped and started for the past couple of years. God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. We need to remind ourselves of this on a daily basis, sometimes a moment-to-moment basis, because the devil is out prowling around like a starving, roaring lion ready to pounce and devour on anyone who is weak. And we can't afford to be weak. We cannot make it without God. We cannot get through the remainder of this pandemic without him. We cannot see the end of this war that's being waged against Ukraine without him. We cannot make it through our personal tragedies and ailments, our past hurts without him. It is time to be courageous, to encourage ourselves in the fact that the Lord our God is with us wherever we go. Not just physically for those who are in the middle of this war zone right now, but mentally, emotionally, whether you're in a war zone within your own soul and heart and mind, God is with you. You have but to seek him. He is there. And if all you're doing is saying, no, I can't see him, so he's not here, you're not going to find him. Our brain picks up on patterns. And if we have a negative attitude, we're going to pick up on the negative. And there's a lot of negative to pick up on. And I'm not saying that these negative things disappears, but just a positive attitude, because that is unrealistic. What I'm saying is we ignore the positive. We ignore the good things that are happening. We ignore opportunities that we have to come out of ourselves to help one another, when all we are focusing on is the negative, because what's the point if the negativity doesn't stop? If you are already saved, the devil can't take your soul, but he can make you useless. Useless to yourself, to God, to others. Put you in a place of such despair or arrogance where you don't feel like you need God. And then when the chaos of life and the traps of the enemy come on, we stumble because we forget who God is and who we are in him. And we let our fear entrap us instead of recognizing our fear and saying, God, I am afraid, but I need you to encourage me, to remind me that you can lift me up past my fear, through my fear, and show me which way to go. Show me how I can help. Show me how you can use me for your glory to bring peace. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, I'm going to put in the description different ways that you can help the war in Ukraine right now. For those of you watching on Facebook, I'll put it in the comments. So YouTube description, and for Facebook, the comments. We are not helpless. We are not useless. We serve an awesome God who is our guide in times of trouble and chaos, and is our ultimate encourager. And while we might not know what comes next, we don't know what the end is going to be in these fires and these wars, metaphorical fires that is, and the things that are going on in our life, God knows and has a plan. And what's your alternative to following him? Just laying back and seeing what happens if you do nothing? If you change nothing? And that's exactly what's going to happen. Nothing. It's time to be strong and courageous, for the Lord our God will be with us wherever we go.